Here is the amazing Abacus, the original RetroCalculator. This is the Chinese version with 2 beads in the upper deck and 5 beads below. The Chinese abacus has been in use for over 800 years. Amazing. And the roots of the abacus go back far further than that. The Romans used a version, and the roots go back even to the clever Mesopotamians. Amazingly, the abacus is still widely used today throughout Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Why? Because the abacus is surprisingly powerful and intuitively easy to use. Now this is the Japanese version called the Soroban. It has heavenly beads in the upper deck and earthly beads in the lower deck. The heavenly beads are worth 5 and the earthly beads are worth 1. Now, we only count beads when they are in the middle position of the abacus. And the abacus is read in exactly the same way you read a modern digital calculator, from left to right and with 1 column per unit. You'll see that in just a second. I'm going to enter the number 1,234 euros and 56 cents. So we're going to do 1,234 euros and 56 cents. Here is a little visual aid. So now let's add a number to that. I am going to add 1,111 euros and 11 cents. So I'm just going to add 1 all the way across the board. Now we're going to have only one little tricky operation, and you'll see how that works in just a second. Okay, here we go. I'm going to add 1,111. Oh, now we've got the tough part. I've already got 4 beads up here, but I need to add 1. So I'm going to subtract 4 and add 5. That's the 11, and now we're going to do the 11 cents. So add 1 and add 1. And so what's our result? It is 2,345 euros 67 cents. Now let's just quickly add another number. We're going to add 7,654 euros and 32 cents. So I'm going to add 7, I'm going to add 6, 5, 4, 3, and 2. Now we have 9,999 euros and 99 cents. What do you think we're going to do next? We're going to add 1 to that, and now we're going to see the carry operation in full effect. I need to add 1 to this column here. Well, to add 1, we do a very simple thing. We're going to take away 9 from this column and add 1 to the next column. So watch this. Take away 9, add 1. Same problem. Take away 9, add 1. Same thing. 9, 9, 9, and 1. So what's our answer? It's very simple. It is 10,000 euros. If you ever get a chance, you should watch an expert abacus user. Watch their fingers flying across the keyboard as they add numbers. They'll do the multiplication on one side and bring the result over to the right side before your eyes can even focus on their fingers. It's amazing. Now, I know what you're thinking. What are those extra beads on the Chinese abacus used for? There's 2 on the upper deck for the heavenly beads, and there's 5 on the lower deck, or the earthly beads, whereas the Japanese just has 4 beads on the lower deck and 1 bead on the upper deck. Well, the simple answer is that the Chinese just ignore those other beads. If they're using a decimal system like we do, counting by tens, then they simply count by ones. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 makes 9, and then when they want to add 10, then they'll do the same thing. They'll do the subtract 9 and add 1 in the tens column. So it's exactly the same as the Japanese soroban. Why then are there the extra beads? Well, the Chinese have certain counting systems for weights and measures that are 16 based or hexadecimal based, and that's very similar to our pounds. For example, there are 16 ounces in a pound, so we count by ones up to 5, and then we count with this bead to 10, and then we count with this bead to 15, and then we add 1 pound. So we went from 15 ounces. If we add 1 more ounce, then we get 1 pound. So it's actually a hexadecimal based calculator. Very interesting. And again, if you aren't interested in using that 16 counting system, then you just use the simple old 9 beads, the 5 plus the 4, to count by tens. And so That is the abacus. Now, for those of you who are parents with young children, I recommend letting them play with the abacus, because counting with beads as numbers is a very powerful learning mechanism. They can count to 10 and then add the bead for the tens column and hundreds and so on up. And you can buy very colorful abacuses that have 10 beads on each rod, and children really respond well to those by counting up to 10 and then adding the bead in the next column. It's really a wonderful learning device and gives a concrete sense of what it means to add numbers together. I hope you look on the web for other resources on the abacus that explain how to use it, the various counting operations, how to do multiplication and division, and even the higher order functions like square roots and cube roots. It's really a fascinating device with a long and glorious history, the abacus.